Hello peoples, good morning. It's good morning here in Australia. It's very early in the morning. I've got some early morning meetings, putting on some fragrance, setting up the day. I'll wait to see if a few people join me. I'm going to have a very good day today, a very, very good day, because I'm setting it up energetically that way. Not too sure why the timer is not going. Oh, hey, Joanne, I've got a few people. The necklace that you gave me, maybe I need to put it on, holding it. Yum. Thank you for that divine gift. Hey, everyone. So just saying, I've set it up. Hey, gorgeous Camille. I'm setting up my day. I've got some beautiful new candles. I've been manifesting my booty off. I'm speaking at an amazing event, actually for a client of mine who's rocking it, and she's doing so well, not only just financially, but also with her mission. And she's invited me to come and speak at an event, and I was like, I'm not leaving that event without creating co-creating, I should say, some really radical shifts and transformation. So I've been downloading what I'll be talking about, but a lot around deep money and self-love rewiring, and also visibility and video and building empires, and what takes to create $1 million plus empire from a position of love and nourishment. So I just wanted to also, guys, talk to you a little bit more about this idea and the scams and the myths that so many of us buy into. And I see so many women especially kind of pull back around what they're creating because there's this fear that they're going to have to work harder when they make more money. There's lots of different emotions that so many women feel, including shame. Never be ashamed about making and receiving divine compensation for your sacred work. Let's just start there today. I will tell you that the first 100K in a business, or the first stages of really allowing yourself to receive the compensation that you deserve for your work, is usually such a huge shift, because there's all the lower density, hey gorgeous Louisa, density emotions, beliefs, karmic bonds, ties, threads that need to be dissolved in order for you to receive that and make it your reality. And it's such a beautiful process for me to see students come in, finding it difficult to charge like $200 or $300 an hour, and then packaging up $10,000 offers and $20,000 offers and paying them. Sorry, and not paying them, and receiving that compensation for their work. So that's wonderful. So there's usually that beautiful sort of up-leveling that needs to happen, and it can feel quite awkward because you're literally learning how to walk, talk, function, and live and relate to yourself, money, service in a whole new way. So saying that, when you're growing an empire or starting off, laying that foundation, it does take work, it does take time, it does take a deep level of commitment, right? And you have to make sure that a lot of those unconscious beliefs are resolved. Otherwise, what tends to happen is we make things a hell of a lot harder than they need to be. It becomes kind of forced, and there's all this it's like a heavy energy, right? And it's natural to go through that process of evolution and healing, right? It has to actually happen. So that can be a little bit challenging. And then what tends to happen is that once you've moved through that, and it can happen quite rapidly when you have someone guiding you, when you're open to it actually having that healing kind of evolve with a lot of love. Hey, gorgeous Jackie, love and reverence, like a reverence for your emotion, allowing yourself to feel the F out of it and then move through it, and feeling safe in that. Because I know that for me personally, when I used to feel a lot of emotion because of my conditioning, because of society, because we're not really taught to hold space for ourselves in our emotion, we're usually kind of almost at war with it, right? Rather than just feeling it, feeling safe in it, seeing it, learning from it, being curious, and then going to the next level and releasing and going to that next dimension. And it can sometimes feel very energetically and also physically hard, because it's such a transformation, and the body is literally purging, your cells are changing shape and transmuting, your brain is reprocessing, your hormones are shifting. So it's a whole cellular, full body and soul up leveling, right? But I just want to be really clear. The point today about the money scam is that I think so many entrepreneurs think that if I make more money, I'm going to have to work harder. And that is not true. That is not true. If we're conditioned with that belief, and that's our fear that we have, and we don't want to do that because we're already so tired, and let's be honest, so many women are exhausted because of the enormous responsibility, because of our multifaceted brains and the way we process information. We tend to be multitaskers. We're actually really usually the leaders in our family. We're guiding our children, guiding our men, and we take on a lot, right? Some of it's really wonderful, and some of it's really just full on and burdensome, because we tend to, because of the way that we process and we have the sixth sense, we can do things faster and quicker, and it can become exhausting. So we're exhausted, we're usually under earning for our work. Even if you're at 100K, 200K, you're pretty much probably under earning, because of your ability is that you can make millions, right? And then we get trapped in that over-giving cycle, and it's all, right? But the truth is that once you have that foundation and you understand marketing, messaging, you've worked through the BS stuff, I'm trying not to swear, I'll call it the stagnant stuff, that wounding, and you begin to dissolve the myths and lies, and you come into a new frequency, and you're like, oh, I can receive, and yes, and I'm safe to sell, and I'm safe to build this empire, and I'm safe to, and I give myself permission to really sell my work for what it's worth, and I feel really good about that, and I'm going to do that, and you start doing that. What happens is you begin to have the capital and the cash to build a team, to have people there to support you. So whether it's tech and ads and copy, I have a coach, I have all of that. Plus I also have a coach now that I've trained up who coaches my girls, who coaches my students. I'll have more of that coming. I've got other healers that run classes in my Diva Mind. I've got a designer that's been on my team for 7 years. So she does all my website design, all my ad graphics, anything that I should want. We've cultivated a beautiful relationship over 7 years. So I have my husband now who works with me as well, and so he does teaching also, plus a lot of the tech stuff, and he manages our programmers. We have a lot of different programmers around the world. A lot of our people are freelance. So I'm actually, whilst I'm, I do work, and I'm very sort of focused, and I try to ensure that I really honor my commitments with my students and whatnot. I have a lot more time because I don't do a lot of private work anymore as well. So I'm not like, at one stage I was back to back, like running my groups and my Diva Mind, my mastermind, and setting up all the digital, and there was a lot of work. And then I was almost like back to back with private clients as I was transitioning out of doing a lot of that private work. I was incredibly busy because I still had the private clients that I had to finish off their contracts with, whilst building my one-to-many business strategy, right? Hey Vanessa, blast from the past. I did an interview with your dad years ago. I don't know if you know that. When you had your, I think it was a legging line. Anyway, and he said that I was a tiger and that I couldn't be hired because I was a tiger in the Chinese horoscope. I think that was like 20 something years ago. Hey, gorgeous. So now I teach one-to-many. So I do a little bit of consulting one-on-one with students and clients. I might do a one-day immersion. Someone might hire me for a 5-hour strategy or 10 hours. And they're the two, yeah, I know. And there were the two, which is kind of smart in a way because I was such a creative. So they're, there's so 1 to many formula, and then I do the 5 or 10 hours, and that's great too, because I get in, I work with a high level entrepreneur, and it's very fast, very rapid. Those people tend to process information very quickly, and they already have teams to implement, or I refer them to people that I really trust in the industry, whether it's funnel builders and all that kind of thing, Facebook ad strategists and whatnot. So what I'm inviting you to do here is to really tune into and feel into, I work part-time now, basically. I work about 4 to 5 hours a day. I start quite early because I'm an early riser. I train my girls. I do a couple of live classes a month on Zoom. I do a couple of live streams in my private paid groups. A lot of it is also managing teams. I've got a whole sales team. I've said this before, I'm not precious. I did a sales call yesterday. One of my girls was not well on my team, but I have a whole sales team that works for me because I wanted to ensure that, I wasn't, in that kind of hyped up, busy vibration, which I was like that for so long. Right, the way just that hustle, that hard work. And then I was like, how do I shift this for myself? How do I create a business that doesn't own me, that really gives me the freedom, which is what we all want, right? It's not just money. We want to be there for our kids. We want to be there for ourselves. We want to be there for our relationships, our man, our partner, whether it's a woman or a man, whatever. Be there for the people that need us. My dad right now is dying from cancer, as some of you know. Being there for him, going to doctor's appointments. So what I'm trying to say is that as you get through that foundational stage of setting up your business, getting it energetically and strategically on point, you get out of the busy vibe. Rania just asked, how do you get out of that busy vibe? Well, one thing is I believe that so many entrepreneurs are still caught up in fight-flight response, right? So there's a vibration or a belief that you have to work hard, right? So what I would do for you is I'd begin to look at dissolving that. Like, how would it feel in your body, in yourself, if you could work, say, 10 to 20 hours, or just say at the moment, 20 hours a week, 4 days a week. So that's 5 hours, say by 4 days, only work 4 days. Make sure that you take off a really good 3-day break on the weekend and say Monday, if you want to. That's how I do it, because I have a lot of students in the US, and so their Monday is their Sunday. And then really look at where you're spending your time. So also a lot of coaches, visionaries, healers who are overgivers tend to do way too much support. Actually, they go overboard, and they don't spend enough time on the marketing, on the messaging, getting on videos, speaking to your audience, looking at your blog, your newsletters, and all that kind of stuff. So look at how you can actually begin to compartmentalize your time. And for me, I'm very deliberate, I'm very focused, and I'm very clear about the objective. So you need to be selling, obviously, right? You need to be selling in order to have a sustainable business with cash flow. You need to be a cashed out woman. So pretty much 70% of your time, or even say 50 to 60%, should be spent, from my perspective, on marketing. Now, I've been one of the girls that used to just give and give and give and give, and I would basically, I did turn off my ads last year because I couldn't deal and sustain the growth at that time. But I did that for partly selfishly as well, because I felt like, oh my God, I need to get my structures in place. So it was also an awareness thing. And the other thing was from a self-serving point of view, but also for my students and my clients, was I'm like, okay, I did it very specifically and deliberately, and that was around getting social proof, the social proof to validate my work, right? And so, I am not going to thrive in my business, or I don't believe, and be of integrity and have ethics in my company, or in the work that I do, if my students and the people that purchase from me, they don't get results. Now, I know it's a co-creation. Each person has to be responsible. I have to be responsible. My students have to be responsible to get those results, because I can't do it all for them. However, I'm responsible in honoring exactly what I say that I'm going to do. And my whole sort of piece de resistance, or my whole movement, is about the political, economic and social power of all women, and ensuring that I had a kind of posse of women, of divas, Diva from the Divine, who were paying it forward and taking my messaging or my work and everything, and embodying that, and then taking it on and launching it into their market and their space. And so that took a considerable amount of time and effort. So I turned off my ads, and I recently turned them on when I hired my sales team to support that, because I was just like giving so much. And I'm like, I said to my husband, he was trying to do sales calls, and I'm like, this is just not working. We need to turn off the ads, focus on delivering this content at our highest, at our best. Let's slow down this growth. Let's get the social proof, all those testimonials, all those client transformations and wins, and then we'll start turning on the ads again. So I'm kind of going off on a few different tangents, but the message of what I'm saying today really is that, guys, change the perception and the shift that you're going to have to work harder having a $500,000, $1 million, a multi-million-dollar empire. I honestly believe that if you find really deep support, amazing team, you need to be really crystal clear of who it is that you need, what role you need them to fill. Make sure that you're not carrying anybody, that you're not playing the mama bear kind of energy, because it will drag you down. They are there to serve you. They are there to contribute. They are there to ensure that your business thrives and that you're nourished, right? You need to make sure that you're nourished. You need to make sure that you have the team that does their job. So I used to be that kind of like, I wanted to be there for everybody, right? I wanted to be nice, and I am nice. And I'm also need to be honoring of myself and take care of my family and my students. And I cannot have any, what I call like a vexen to the spirit, those that are not proactive, that are dragging their tail, that have way too much drama. I'm not their therapist. I'm not their coach. To a certain degree, you're always coaching and guiding your people to rise up, but there's a different level and frequency around if they're a victim or if they're someone that's like quite conscious, quite aware, a heart-driven woman or man who takes responsibility for themselves and will see the error of their ways. I remember dealing with a beautiful woman who works with me, and at the beginning, it was interesting, and I remember one day she was like, oh, can you kind of slow down, and can you kind of be a bit nicer, or the way that you're describing something. It was a weekend, she needed something from me, and I'm like, okay, girlfriend, I love you, and oh, there's a storm. Okay, gorgeous, bye Jackie. I'm like, I love you, but can I just explain my situation? I'm in the middle of a store trying to buy a stereo for my dad, watching a 4-year-old who's playing this expensive guitar. I'm running around this one and trying to answer you, and I'm not going to give you a million emojis to make you feel comfortable. What's going on for you? Because I think you're brilliant, and I think you're doing an amazing job, and I adore you. There's no problem for me, but I can't kind of like spoon feed every little direction with so much like over care to make you feel okay about yourself. So what I suggest, because it's like this heavy energy where you're constantly watching every single thing because they're so sensitive, because they're in whatever pain or wound they're in. So I just said to her, I love you, go and get some support. There's stuff coming up for you, obviously, but you know what? I'm so happy with you. She actually was feeling, when we talked about it, that she wasn't doing a good enough job, which wasn't even true, right? Oh, so I'm like, okay, you need to go to a kinesiologist. Here's the contact. Go deal with that and then come back to me. We gave each other a big hug, and then we've evolved and gone through that together, and we don't have that play anymore. That's not going on because we've moved through it. Now, that's a very different type of relationship where the person takes responsibility and has enough emotional IQ to process and hear it and move through anything that they're going through, okay? So I've learned through my own career I don't want to baby people at all, or kind of have that denser vibration around me. It has to move quite quite easily. There has to be a sense of flow. There has to be a deep sense of heart and trust. Of course, people go through things. Of course, people can take time off if they need to. I'm all about that. I'm not about the force. So basically, the more money that you make, if you allow yourself to be deeply supported, if you have a great team around you, as I said earlier in the video, I have probably about 10 people with me now. Most freelance though, and my husband also, who works full-time, a few different coaches now on my team, programmers, designers, all of that. You will be nourished. And so it's just a shift in consciousness. So don't stop the flow of business growth with a fear that it's going to be so heavy and in some way you're going to have to sacrifice yourself, because it's an old paradigm or a wounding that needs to be released. So I hope today, just by sharing my journey, and it has been a journey. Like, I have had the times where I felt like I was crawling on my hands and my knees. I've had the times where I've been so exhausted, mostly because of my own wounding, mostly because of all those unconscious things that I didn't really believe, didn't even know that I was buying into. So from a really deep, more energetic level, I will always ask the divine, the creator, to show me, to help me see where I'm sabotaging myself or where I'm making it harder for myself. I've had to use this sort of self-realization and self-responsibility and being quite aware and looking at myself and how I F myself over, how I make things way too hard that they need to be, by really taking that time to look within, to see it, and to ask for divine guidance around it. If I need support, I purchase that. I get other people to support me if I need to. But really every day, it's like a prayer for that awareness, to look at myself and to have enough, and to do it in a self-honoring way. It's not attacking. I'm not saying that I'm a bad person, but to take a moment to go, okay, well, where am I making it harder because of this illusion that I'm buying into? You know, because I do give a lot of support in my groups. Hey, gorgeous Helen, because I do give a lot of support in my group, and I want to, and people need that support in my Diva Mind, and even in my digital now. I've just handed a good chunk of it over to my team. Otherwise, I'm not serving them, and I'm not serving my bigger vision, because I actually don't have the sustenance. And I've suffered deeply from adrenal issues. I used to, when I was living in New York, and I had a clothing line there years ago, I could barely get out of bed one day, and I was then on T3 and T4 thyroxine for 5 years because I was in that, I had a lot of unresolved emotional stuff, a heap of baggage, a heap of drama, and I basically, I just ruined my whole central nervous system. Had just taken such a kind of beating for so many years because of my toxic stuff. And that was a big wake-up call. So I'm a woman who, was medicated for 5 years just to be able to walk around and function. And I've realized, as you all know, during my journey, that having acupuncture every week that I do, or training, getting in nature, and they're all great things, but unless we deal with the psychology and the mindset behind our behaviors, and the trauma and the wounds, we're always going to be in a state of that fight, flight kind of suffering. So we do need to just constantly be, I believe, I said to my husband, something was coming up for him this week, and he sort of didn't want to get any help. And I said, well, why? Why would you do that? It's up to you, however you want to deal with it. But for me, I run to get more support if I need it, because I know that if I resolve the stuff, the fear, the anger, the rage, whatever is coming up in me, I'm going to be in a whole new vibrational dimension and shift my reality completely by doing the work. And I actually believe that it's one of the most self-loving, self-responsible things that we can do for ourselves. So if you want to have a more yummy, nourished, divine experience running a business, it's really going to probably mostly come down to your relationship with yourself, and what you're allowing in, and what you're kind of forcing away, what you're enabling. Remember, because we do that, right? So even when working with my husband, because I was so used to being kind of in survival mode and doing it all on my own, I'd kind of go into that blame person, attacking him, like, you're not doing enough. You know, I'm doing it so much. It's so much. And there was part of it at the beginning that was true because it was my business, and then he came in and joined me, and he was sort of playing catch up. And I am a very fast person with the way I do things, and men are a little bit different the way they process. But really, in many ways, I was perpetuating that struggle because of my own wounding and making him bad, perpetuating it. There's a level of his own healing that needed to happen there, of him taking more his own power, like coming more into his own power, which would allow him to be more proactive. So there's a level of self-love for him there, and him coming into his divine manpower. But then in some ways I had to, definitely look at my own self and go, but I'm actually creating this because of my whole stuff. So it's good to have a bit of a giggle and go, So if I just shifted, I think they say, there's a saying, that it only takes one person to have a really good relationship, which I don't completely agree, but I like the sentiment, right? The sentiment of when we shift ourselves, everything else shifts. So Divine Ones, I'm sending you so much love. The more money that you do make, you don't have to work harder. You just need a team. You need structures. You need to allow in divine support. And some of my students right now, one of them just posted here about, actually I need to see what time it is. I've got a meeting coming up, and I've been here longer than I thought. 2 minutes. I can't even remember what I was going to say. I don't remember. Okay, guys, I'm sending you so much love, a million blessings. Oh yes, the VAs. Even having a VA, it might sound really basic, but having a virtual assistant that can help you with a lot of emails and blog posts and things like that is awesome. It just saves so much time. I mean, I would not send out an email every week or a video every week if it wasn't for the fact that I have support. It would just do my head in. So if you want to be consistently marketing and connecting with your audience, which you have to do for that consistency to build trust and rapport, you need to have those people on your team that can really help you get out your videos. Like this video, for example, this will go to my list, right? And I'm not doing it. Someone else is doing it for me because it would do my head in. So start to put some capital away, even if it's only $50 or $100 a week at the beginning. Do it. It'll allow you to make more money and have more space to get out there, share your message, write copy, and really reach your audience. Okay, guys, a million blessings. Thank you for your time. Lots of love. Have a great day.